The sound was small at first, like a hinge sighing in protest. Ethan thought it was the old refrigerator again, the one that had been threatening to unionize for weeks. He was halfway through deciding whether to smack it with the heel of his hand when his front door swung open, as if it had been waiting for dramatic effect. She stepped in without hesitation, her boots tapping once on the threshold before striding across the living room rug. Her ears, long, sharp, and alive with subtle twitches, were the first thing Ethan noticed. Not pointy like the cheap elf hats from a mall Santa's workshop, but elegant, sweeping upward as though sculpted by someone who really cared about ears. She looked at him as if this intrusion was the most natural thing in the world. "Don't mind me," she said, dropping a small metallic cube on the coffee table. "Your dwelling is conveniently located between two ley lines of atmospheric stability. Perfect for recalibration." Ethan blinked at her, holding the remote like it might fend her off. "You broke into the wrong Netflix account, lady. Try the neighbors." She tilted her head, ears perking like radar dishes. "Neighbors? Are they edible?" Ethan coughed. "That's not how we usually do it here. Mostly it's casseroles and awkward small talk." She seemed to consider this seriously, tapping a finger against her chin. "Strange. On my world, a neighbor is defined as an entity you do not yet dislike enough to vaporize." Ethan sank onto the couch, trying to ignore the metallic cube that had begun humming like a lazy bumblebee. "Okay. Let's do this properly. Who are you and why are you in my living room? Please say you're part of an elaborate prank show. If so, I'll smile for the hidden camera. If not, I'm dialing the police." She seated herself across from him, smoothing down her dark coat with deliberate grace. "My designation is Kaylee. Your authorities cannot contain me, and I assure you, any attempt to involve them would only end in paperwork so catastrophic it could bend spacetime. I have no patience for bureaucracy, do you?" Ethan thought about the DMV. Fair point. Kaylee leaned forward, eyes sharp with some strange inner light. "I will remain here temporarily. I will not harm you unless you attempt to obstruct me. In return, you will have the rare honor of being host to a visitor from the Klein periphery." Ethan rubbed his temples. "Yeah, sure. I've always dreamed of hosting an alien Airbnb. You want a beer, or is that toxic for whatever system you've got running?" Her ears twitched again, and to Ethan's surprise, her lips curved upward. "Beer is acceptable. As long as it isn't flavored with ground corn husks like your, what did you call it? Bud Light." Ethan barked out a laugh despite himself, heading to the fridge. "You know, you're starting to sound less like an invader and more like a really judgmental roommate." She accepted the bottle with careful curiosity, sniffed it once, then tilted it back in a motion that suggested this wasn't her first beverage in the galaxy. "I prefer the term interdimensional guest of honor." The metallic cube gave a sharper hum, flashing pale blue across the walls. Ethan's cat Nora strolled in at that moment, tail swishing. She stopped, hissed at the cube, and retreated as though she'd just seen the devil. Ethan said. "Should I be worried that my cat thinks your gadget is Satan?" Kaylee waved dismissively. "Felines are hypersensitive to spatial interference. It's nothing dangerous. Unless the calibration fails, in which case your dwelling may temporarily fold in on itself like a poorly stacked sandwich." Ethan set his beer down a little too quickly. "That feels like the kind of thing you lead with." Kaylee arched an eyebrow. Humans enjoy suspense, do they not? The hum lowered, settling into something like a heartbeat. Kaylee stretched, reclined back against his sofa, and regarded the living room as though she had purchased it with her own credits. "You have terrible taste in art. These walls are begging for nebulae renderings, perhaps a supernova print." Ethan crossed his arms. "Excuse me, I'll have you know that's an original framed poster of Die Hard. It's a cultural cornerstone." She studied Bruce Willis's bald head. "Your people worship warriors with poor hair retention. Fascinating." Despite the absurdity, Ethan found himself grinning. She was intrusive, rude, and clearly insane or alien, maybe both, but there was a spark in the way she spoke, humor woven into every alien syllable. "So, Kaylee," he said at last, "how long do you plan on crashing here? A day?" "A week, until my lease runs out." Her ears twitched as though picking up some frequency beyond him. "Until it is safe, until the sky quiets, you will understand soon enough." And for the first time, Ethan noticed the faint glimmer outside his window, not the ordinary stars, but something else, hovering low, flickering as if waiting. "Great," he muttered. "I always wanted to be abducted on a Tuesday." Kaylee raised her bottle in a toast, her grin mischievous. "To Tuesdays, then." The cube pulsed in agreement. Nora, the cat, hissed again, and Ethan had the distinct feeling that his quiet life had just been abducted right along with him. Ethan awoke to the unmistakable sound of someone reorganizing his kitchen. It wasn't the usual gentle clatter of cereal bowls or the polite shuffle of coffee mugs. No, this was the clanging, metallic symphony of a person who had decided gravity was optional and kitchenware was her orchestra. Dragging himself out of bed, he shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Kaylee stood on the counter, balancing with the ease of a gymnast, while a dozen utensils hovered midair around her, orbiting her like loyal moons. His frying pan glowed faintly blue, a spatula spun slowly end over end, and his toaster was, if he wasn't hallucinating, levitating just above the sink. "Morning," Ethan croaked. "Do I even want to ask what crime scene this is?" Kaylee glanced down, ears twitching. "Your storage system is chaotic. Forks intermingled with knives, cups hidden behind plates, and most unforgivable, your coffee hidden behind instant noodles. I am restoring order." Ethan leaned against the doorway, watching as she gestured with 2 fingers. The toaster bobbed in midair, spun once, and neatly slotted itself onto a new shelf. Okay, but the toaster asterisk was asterisk fine where it was. Now it's next to the cat food. Kaylee tilted her head. "Is that not efficient? Toast, feline nourishment, both are consumed in mornings." "Yeah, well, only one of us eats toast, and it's not Nora," Ethan muttered. As if summoned, the cat padded in, narrowed her eyes at Kaylee, and leapt onto the counter. The utensils immediately dropped from their orbit with a clatter. Nora batted at the frying pan with a look that said this alien nonsense ends now. Kaylee folded her arms, regarding the cat with solemn respect. "Your feline is formidable." She disrupted my gravitational field with sheer disapproval. "Welcome to the hierarchy of this house," Ethan said, reaching for the coffee. "She's at the top. I rent the space under her throne." Kaylee hopped down lightly, landing beside him. "Speaking of coffee, your substance labeled instant is appalling. I attempted to sample it. My mouth filed a protest with my nervous system." "Yeah, well, some of us can't just snap our fingers and conjure up space latte." Ethan ripped open a packet and poured the powder into his mug. "This is how normal people cope with mornings." Kaylee plucked the mug from his hand, sniffed it, then dropped a small glowing bead into the steaming water. The liquid shifted color, turning a shimmering turquoise. She handed it back with an air of triumph. "Now it is drinkable." Ethan stared at it. "This looks like windshield wiper fluid." "Trust me." Against his better judgment, he took a sip. The taste was unlike anything he'd known, rich, smooth, with a faint afterglow that lingered in his teeth like peppermint but warmer. He blinked. "Okay, that's actually not bad. What did you do?" "Introduced molecular harmony," she said with a shrug. "It is common practice. Beverages should not wage war on one's stomach lining." Ethan pointed a finger at her. "You've just destroyed every excuse I've ever had for being cranky in the morning." The cube from last night sat on the counter, its hum softer now, pulsing like a heartbeat. Kaylee gave it a quick glance before turning her attention back to the cupboards. "So," Ethan said, sipping his new alien coffee, "this whole moving in without permission thing, how long are we talking? A couple of days. Until my landlord notices the extra ears." Kaylee's lips quirked into a smirk. "Do not fear. I am skilled in remaining unnoticed. Your landlord will never suspect. unless he also sees through walls and listens to frequencies above 20,000 hertz. Ethan squinted. Okay, but seriously, why asterisk here? You could have picked anyone's house. Why mine? She paused, ears twitching once before she answered. Because your coordinates intersect with safety. The air around this place bends interference. My enemies have difficulty tracking me through it. Your home is inconvenient for them. Ethan took another sip of the turquoise brew. So basically, my house is galactic camouflage. Lucky me. She grinned, sipping her own bottle of water. See, already you are part of something larger. Yeah, larger bills, larger anxiety, larger chance of waking up to find my microwave dismantled. That device is primitive, Kaylee said at once. It excites water molecules inefficiently. I could enhance it to double its output. No, leave the microwave alone, Ethan said quickly. Last time I tried to repair it myself, I nearly turned a burrito into a grenade. Kaylee's laughter came sharp and quick, her ears flicking back in amusement. Perhaps you are more dangerous than you appear. Before Ethan could retort, the cube gave a sharp, piercing tone. Kaylee froze, eyes narrowing, then placed her hand on the device. It quieted immediately, its glow dimming to a faint pulse. Ethan set down his mug. That didn't sound like a good beep. Kaylee's tone softened, though her expression was tight. It was nothing, a miscalibration. Continue drinking your windshield fluid. Ethan wasn't buying it, but he didn't press. Humor was the only rope he had to cling to in this madness, and tugging too hard might snap it. Instead, he leaned back against the counter. So, what's the plan? You hide out here, reorganize my kitchen, humiliate my appliances, and what? Wait for the galactic equivalent of a bus schedule. Her smile returned, sly and bright. Something like that, and while I wait, I will educate you. You are dreadfully ignorant of the universe. Did you know moons can have their own moons? Ethan frowned. That's not real. It is real, Kaylee said, delighted by his disbelief. And your people have the audacity to call themselves advanced. Honestly. Ethan groaned. Great. Now I can't even look at the night sky without feeling like I failed astronomy class. Kaylee tapped her temple, her ears flicking with mischief. Do not worry, Ethan. By the time I leave, you will see the universe the way I do. He wasn't sure if that was a promise or a threat. Probably both. Ethan found her in the backyard that night, crouched beside. He said slowly. That wasn't subtle. If you're trying to stay hidden, maybe don't launch a galactic flashlight into orbit. Kaylee's ears twitched again, this time with clear annoyance. It was necessary. A signal without coordinates is merely noise. Besides, no one nearby will detect it. Ethan pointed toward the faint shimmer he'd noticed the night before, a flicker of light that didn't belong to any star. Yeah. Then what's that? Kaylee's smile faltered. She followed his gaze, and her silence said more than words ever could. Ethan swallowed hard. Okay, I'm just a guy who sells insurance and occasionally microwaves questionable burritos, but even I know that doesn't look good. Her tone sharpened. They are earlier than expected. Earlier, like how much earlier? She stood, closing the cube with a snap. Too early, which means we adapt. Ethan groaned again. Adapt. Lady, the last time I tried adapting, it was to my ex-girlfriend's vegan diet. Spoiler, it did not end well. Her grin returned, fierce and humor-tinged. Then let us hope you adapt better to alien pursuit than to lentils. Ethan dragged a hand down his face. I should have just gone to bed early tonight. Above them, the faint shimmer in the sky grew brighter, no longer pretending to be stars. And Ethan realized, with the sinking weight of inevitability, that his life had just moved from weird sitcom with an alien roommate to fugitive comedy on the run from galactic law enforcement. And somehow, Kaylee was still smiling. Ethan's backyard shed had never seen so much action. Until now, the most dramatic thing to happen inside it was a raccoon breaking in and stealing a bag of fertilizer. Tonight, however, it had been converted into something between a starship garage and a science fair project from another dimension. Kaylee had dragged half of Ethan's household appliances into the shed. His blender was bolted to the wall with glowing wires. The microwave door hung open with strange circuitry snaking out of it, and the lawnmower hummed ominously like it was plotting rebellion. Ethan stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "So this is how I die, death by rebranded kitchenware." Kaylee tightened a bolt on the contraption, her ears twitching in satisfaction. "You exaggerate. These primitive machines are surprisingly adaptable when paired with proper quantum architecture." "Uh-huh. Well, when my landlord asks why my shed smells like radioactive popcorn, I'll tell him it's quantum architecture." The cube pulsed brightly on the workbench. Kaylee tapped it, and a projection of the night sky filled the cramped space. Glowing stars spread across the walls. Several of those stars began to shift, moving closer, their light bending unnaturally. Ethan recognized them instantly. They were the ships he'd seen in the sky. "Okay," Ethan muttered. "That's definitely not the Big Dipper. That's the Big Trouble." Kaylee's eyes narrowed. "Patrol vessels. Their scans are widening. They will sweep this region in less than one rotation of your planet." Ethan blinked. "So tomorrow morning?" "Yes." He pinched the bridge of his nose. "Great. I always thought my biggest problem would be paying my credit card bill. Turns out nope, space cops." Kaylee gave him a quick glance, a grin tugging at her lips. "You are remarkably calm for a man whose planet may soon be crawling with enforcement drones." "Calm? I'm not calm, I'm just past calm." This is that part of panic where the brain throws up its hands and goes, "Fine, sure, let's roll with it." She chuckled, ears flicking back. A healthy response. Panic wastes energy, humor sharpens the mind. Or it gets me arrested for making inappropriate jokes during an alien raid. Kaylee adjusted the cube again, and one of the projected ships expanded, displaying its sleek design. "These craft will not hesitate to vaporize resistance. We must avoid confrontation." "Good plan. I'm very pro avoiding vaporization." Still, as he watched her work, Ethan noticed the subtle tension in her hands. She joked and teased, but the fear was real, hiding beneath the surface. That realization, far more than the glowing alien holograms, sent a shiver down his spine. "So what's our play?" Ethan asked carefully. Kaylee stepped back from the projection, wiping her palms on her coat. "We finish repairs. The cube must sync with a power source strong enough to pierce their blockade. Your household grid is insufficient, but your city's electrical spine is acceptable." Ethan frowned. "Electrical spine, you mean the power lines?" "Yes, the great lattice humming above your streets, that." "Oh, perfect. So, to recap, you want to hotwire the city's electrical system with my blender and my lawnmower, then launch yourself into orbit while the space police circle overhead." "Totally reasonable." She smirked. "Precisely." Ethan shook his head, muttering, "I knew I should have bought renter's insurance that covered alien incursions." The shed door rattled suddenly as Nora the cat shoved her way inside. She leapt onto the workbench, glaring at Kaylee as if to say, "This is still my territory." Kaylee met the glare, unflinching. "Your feline disapproves again," Kaylee noted. "She disapproves of everything," Ethan replied. "I once gave her premium salmon treats, and she still looked at me like I'd betrayed her." The cat batted at the cube, which flared dangerously bright. Ethan lunged forward. "Hey, don't let her touch the alien nuke." Kaylee plucked the cube away just in time, chuckling. "Perhaps she wishes to assist. A noble spirit." "Yeah, noble, until she deletes reality with her paw." Kaylee's laughter was short-lived. Her expression darkened as the projection shifted again. The ships in the sky had spread wider, weaving a net across the stars. "They are closing faster than I thought," she murmured. "We must accelerate." Ethan groaned. "Of course. Because nothing says, 'relaxing Tuesday night' like outrunning a galactic dragnet." Kaylee grabbed a coil of glowing cable and thrust it into his hands. "Hold this steady." Ethan hesitated. "Is this safe?" "Define safe." "Not dying in a horrible electrocution accident." "Then mostly safe." "Mostly safe." But he held it anyway. the cable vibrating faintly in his grip. Kaylee worked quickly, connecting wires, aligning components, muttering under her breath in a language that sounded like static wrapped around melody. The cube glowed brighter with every connection. Ethan watched her, torn between awe and terror. She moved with purpose but also desperation. The jokes they volleyed back and forth kept them steady, but under it all he knew the truth. The danger was closing in. Finally, Kaylee stepped back. "It is ready. Tomorrow night we link to the city's spine. By then my vessel will answer." Ethan exhaled slowly, "And if it does?" Her grin returned, sharp as ever. "Then we improvise. Improvisation is humanity's specialty, is it not?" Ethan managed a weak laugh. "Yeah, usually with duct tape and panic attacks." Kaylee reached for the cube, her ears twitching at the faint rumble of engines overhead. The sound was distant but unmistakable. Ethan looked up, heart hammering. "They're already here, aren't they?" Kaylee's expression hardened, though her voice was light. "Perhaps, but let them come. We still have humor on our side." "Humor and a homicidal lawnmower," Ethan muttered. The shed hummed with alien light, and above them the sky flickered brighter. The countdown had begun. The hum of the city's power lines filled Ethan's ears as he stood beneath them, clutching a flashlight like it might help fend off spaceships. Kaylee was balanced on the hood of his car, the cube glowing in her hands, cables running from it into a jury-rigged mess of blender parts, lawnmower guts, and Ethan's poor microwave, which looked like it was about to file for workers' comp. "This is insane," Ethan muttered. "Do you know how many laws we're breaking right now? City ordinances, electrical codes, probably the Geneva Convention." Kaylee didn't look up. "Relax, if it works, there will be no evidence. If it fails, there will be no city." "Oh, well, that's comforting," Ethan said, shining the flashlight on her hands. "You always this good at pep talks." Her ears twitched, and for a moment her grin flashed. "Always." The cube pulsed once, twice, then fired a beam into the night sky. Above them, the alien patrol ships shifted, their sleek hulls glinting as they descended lower, scanning arcs of blue light sweeping across rooftops. Ethan's heart pounded. Kaylee, I think they've noticed your intergalactic Wi-Fi hotspot." "They will notice more soon," she said, leaping down from the car. The cube's hum intensified until it rattled in Ethan's chest. He could almost feel the air bending, like reality was a stretched balloon about to snap. Suddenly, the headlights of his car flared to life, though the keys were still in his pocket. The horn blared once, long and ridiculous. Ethan swore. "Why is my car possessed now?" Kaylee smirked. "Distraction protocol." As if on cue, the patrol ships fired beams of light downward, locking onto the car. Ethan dove behind a dumpster. "Great, you've made my Honda Civic the target of galactic law enforcement. My insurance company is gonna love this." But the distraction bought Kaylee the second she needed. The cube roared with light, and from the darkness above something answered. The sky split, bending open like a curtain. A sleek vessel shimmered into existence, battered but magnificent, its edges glimmering with alien energy. Ethan's jaw dropped. "That's your ship. It looks like a star swallowed a dagger and decided to spit it back out." Kaylee's grin widened. "Close enough." The patrol ships swarmed, but Kaylee's vessel dipped low, firing a pulse that scattered them like startled birds.